Here's a statistic. Most people don't realize over 70% of generational wealth disappears by the second generation, 90% by the third generation. That means most families spend their entire lives working only for the wealth to disappear. Today, we're going to have a conversation about how we can stop that cycle. We're breaking down wealth protection, real estate, insurance, opportunities for veterans and families to build real generational wealth. And I'm joined with Stacy and Desean. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and then we'll get into the conversation.
Familiar face, Stacy. Asset manager, real estate investor, developer. Let's talk.
Hi, my name is Desean Bogues. A little brief about myself. I work in workforce development here in the state of North Carolina. Also, I teach criminal justice at Roanoke Chowan Community College, and I've been working with veterans now for about going on over 6 years now. I'm also a retired United States Navy.
And you were in the Navy, Stacy, you were in the Army, and I was in the Navy. So I'm gonna open up with this question because it got a lot of traction last time. So Deshaun, I already know what Stacy's gonna say. He looked it up. Who do you feel? And you work with veterans. You work with veteran business owners, a lot of veterans, disabled veterans, people that are employed. So, who do you feel? What branch? Let me be very specific with this question. What branch do you feel produce the most successful entrepreneurs? What branch?
That's hard. That's hard to say exactly what branch. I would go more to say specifically what job you did in the military will produce the entrepreneur. If you were a leader in any branch, if Air Force, Navy, Space Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, if you were a leader, then and you know how to understand delegating and building teams and understanding what the value of the customer, whatever product you're selling. If you understand that, you're gonna be great. But if you was one of the ones in the military that you just was able to take orders only, then not saying that you too far from the bridge, but you can still come over it. It's gonna be a little harder for you. So breaking it down specifically for what branch, that's difficult. But if I'm gonna go Navy anyway because we charge it from the front. Been around the longest. So, but I would just say it just depends on what you did in the military, what your rank was, how many people you led, and how you utilize those resources while you was active. That's going to determine what you do when you get out in the civilian world. So that's how I can answer that one.
Oh, that's good because we looked it up, and Stacy and I mean Army produced the most because they have the most people. That's what I feel.
I can see that.
But we're not gonna gang up on Stacey. I mean, but the jobs really aligned, right?
Yeah.
Exactly what you said. That's what we saw as well. So now fun is over. I'm gonna get into the information. All right. So Disha, I want to start with you because a lot of people don't realize the challenges veterans face after leaving the military. What are the biggest financial challenges veterans face transitioning to civilian life that you've seen?
What I've seen over my 5 years, I'll say 5 good strong years working with the state. We all know what do we receive while we're in the military. We get food. We get a food allowance. One, we get BH. We get a housing allowance. Okay, we don't have to go a lot of places when we deploy to spend money. So when that transition happens, that BH cuts off immediately. You don't get the food allowance. You don't get the clothing allowance. So you're going to work for somebody where you're going to be taxed for your work. So find a income that matches what you were doing while you were active. That is probably one of the I would say that's number one challenge is basing that income is the day you get out. That's why it's so important to either use all the resources, use your VA benefits, use your Chapter 35, your Chapter 31, utilize your post 9/11, your Montgomery GI Bill. That way you can have some type of income, go to college, get a trade to match exactly what you had when you left the military. I would say that would be my number one. as far as financial struggle would be trying to match exactly what you had the day you left the military. And that's even for people that's only going for 4 years, because you got to think you're going for 4 years as a E3, E4. You maybe make E4 when you get out for 4 years. Hey, and then you come up here and try to get a job with no skills. You're not going to get paid that same rate you were getting paid while you were active duty.
And I mean, I didn't get out as an E4, but when it comes to E4, I think it also depends on the job that you entered as well, right?
That's big,
Like
yes.
you just said at the beginning of the conversation, because you could be an E1 with a lot of like you could be a nuke at an E1, and you have a lot of experience because you were in. And I'm speaking from the Navy, but that can be, get out. You could get a job really quick, right?
Yeah,
If
real
you
quick.
were in 4 years.
Yeah, if you was a
So,
nuke, yeah, and you're gonna be, and as a nuke, you going in, and if people don't on the line know what a nuke is, most of the nuke guys work on submarines. They work the nuclear parts of the vessels in the military. They get paid a lot of money coming in. I mean, some of them getting $90,000 bonuses to come in to go to a submarine. So, but that money goes, and then they get out. It's like, man, I'm not getting that. I'm not making that significant income anymore. Even if they go work for somewhere that's in nuclear, if they go to a shipyard and work, they're not going to be getting the type of money they were getting while they were active at at the beginning.
mhm.
They getting paid money where a lot of seniors are making, later on in life. So
So veterans bring leadership, discipline, and work ethic, but many still struggle financially. And that's what we're trying to get past today is help those veterans into a better way, guide them into a better way of being financially free and having that income come in after leaving. So, why do you think after leaving, also to add on to what you just said, that veterans still struggle even when they do have a path going forward?
that I would say that comes down to what we all have done in active duty. We were part of a team. Okay. We were mission oriented versus, I say this all the time everywhere I go speak. We work to accomplish the mission. Most people that go to work, they work to accomplish 5 o'clock. They're just trying to make it to five. I mean, being honest and being real. They're trying to punch that clock. They're getting to work late. You got to have these different breaks throughout the day. Active duty, we work until the job done. It ain't a whole lot of breaks. And then when the job is done, then we can go to Liberty, and we go out and do what we need to do. So the transitioning is when a service member comes into an organization, that he has a certain platform that he wants to stay on, and it can get to a point where we're not focused on the vision of that organization. The team isn't focused on the mission of the organization, and then it becomes lackluster to that veteran. It's like, why am I here? I don't have purpose. You paying me $100,000 a year, and I'm still doing the same thing I was doing 6, 7 months ago. So establishing that, having that will to win all the time that we get plugged into while we're active duty, it's difficult out here in the civilian world. There's only a few companies out here that really have that mission. I can use case in point. I say this all the time about Chick-fil-A. And I'm not up here promoting Chick-fil-A on the podcast, but I'm just speaking from what I see. You go to Chick-fil-A, you go to McDonald's, you go to Bojangles, you go to all these restaurants, but Chick-fil-A is team oriented. They're focused on the customer and they get the job done. And they are closed on Sundays, and they still sell more than any fast food chain in America. So we bring that as service members to these organizations, but that service member does get tired. He gets tired, he gets frustrated, and then they walk away and they try to move on to another position.
You broke that down beautifully. So, I want to transition into a way that veterans also can find purpose. And one of the best ways to build wealth, and I said one, it's many that we're going to discuss on this call, but real estate, right? That's what Stacy is into. So one of the fastest ways families build wealth in America is through real estate. Now, for you, Stacy, why is real estate still one of the best ways to build generational wealth?
Again, I've said it multiple times, and it's that hill I'm willing to die on. History, numbers. History doesn't lie. Historically speaking, real estate has been the number between number one and number two wealth builders over since they've tracked it over the past 70, 60, 70 years since they've tracked it statistically. Stock market, real estate market. Um, Again, it comes down to supply and demand. It is not a get rich quick thing. However, if you invest strategically in the right areas and your numbers, you have a solid team to run your numbers, make sure you're buying. The key is buying at the right price, and you have that structure to follow through with the deal, and the numbers in the end or where they need to be. The ARV is there, the after rehab value or the post construction value is there. We're speaking on the development side. It's the value's there. People need somewhere to live. Like that's going nowhere. So when you couple that, the supply demand history, the tax advantages, that's one thing a lot of people don't understand is that you can still have a full-time W-2. It's great if you still have a full-time W-2 because the tax advantages that you'll get from owning real estate are phenomenal for people who have that W-2 income. So again, that's a hill I'm willing to die on. We've all seen it firsthand. The majority of most people's wealth is actually in their primary residence. If the majority of your wealth is in your primary residence, why not replicate that same number with a different property? Right?
So I have another question, and then I'll ask D a little more on that as well. When he had like the veterans that he's seen, and are they trying to get into real estate? But what is the biggest mistake that people make trying to get in real estate?
Hands down, the biggest mistake is not understanding the real estate market in itself, and then not understanding real estate investing processes. There's a few different processes, but a few different angles or specific things you need to understand. One is the financial aspect of it, the financing part, the cost, the fees associated with if you're financing real estate. The other is the cost associated with building, repairs, or construction, depending on where you're at, and just knowing the value of in any market. You could drive an hour from one zip code to another, and a 3-bedroom, 2-bath is completely. We're talking worlds apart. Eastern North Carolina market is not RDU market. RDU market is not Charlotte market. So when people try to step into different markets and don't completely understand that, you lose a lot of money. When people try to buy properties that they don't understand how to repair and the actual cost associated with repairing a property, they lose a lot of money. When people finance these deals and now they're sitting on these loans, these massive loans, they're not running the numbers for maintenance. Let's say a buy and hold, they're not running the number for maintenance, taxes, insurance, the escrow. They thinking cash flow is just my mortgage minus how much, or my rent minus mortgage. No, there's other numbers you need to factor in. So people make a lot of mistakes early on, or people make a lot of mistakes in general if they don't have the proper team. And I like what Desean said, because one thing I learned in the Army was that it's all about having that proper team. Like that's one thing I'll say. When I got into the real estate industry, I didn't have that team, and coming from the Army going into real estate, I ain't gonna lie, I struggled because one thing I liked about the Army was we have TMs, FMs for everything. You can literally go on to at the time it was usarmy.mil.
I got a question.
What's that?
What's that?
What's that? TM training manuals, field
Okay.
manuals.
SOP.
It's books. It's how-to books.
It's a little different than the Navy.
It's for YouTube. Well, again, in the Army, you had those field manuals, training manuals, and and you had a regulation for every question you ever had. It was in black and white. Well, when you step into real estate, you don't have that, and it's there, but you have to reach out to the proper people, or you have to know how to utilize your resources. But even when it comes to a training manual or a field manual, you can read it all day, but we all know once you go to the field and you start executing these steps, a lot of times those manuals are outdated. So now you're adjusting, you're taking a manual that's outdated and you're trying to apply it to real life scenario. And we don't use these tents anymore. How can I implement this new tent into this field or this training manual? So again, I think just having the right team, and again, coming from the Army to this industry, I didn't have that. So I'll be honest, I probably lost a lot of money. And up front, going back to 2016 when I first got, well, 2015, 2016, when I first got into the game, in hindsight, I could have expedited the learning curve, saved a lot of money, and probably exponentially increased my portfolio and value from 2015 to 2020. Like imagine buying in 2015 exponentially versus taking that learning curve, having to learn the hard way, losing money while you're learning the hard way. Imagine just investing a little bit into into my education early on. And I'm just random number, instead of acquiring 2 or 3 properties from 2015 to 2018, could have acquired 5 to 6. And by the time 2020 hit, we all know what happened in 2020. So,
All right.
did I answer your question? I kind of
you answered. But I do have a question for Desean, right? So Desean, when transitioning out of the military, you talk to a lot of veterans and they get guidance from you, correct?
Correct.
So when it comes to disability and how you can utilize VA loans and things like that, what would you tell someone that is getting out? They've been putting claims in. They're trying to buy a house with their VA loan. What's the steps into trying to buy a home? Because I experienced this myself. I was going through my disability claim while I purchased my home. Then I got a check back for the down payment because I didn't have my rating yet. So I'm gonna go back to the beginning. If someone is trying to get out, once they do get out, they come to you and they say, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying a house." What advice would you give them? And they're still in the process of putting their claim in.
So there's so many pieces to that, but I want to go back for 1 second to what Stacy said. And this is going to tie into your question about the VA loan.
Mm-hmm.
Entering into the military is one thing that I wish that they would do that they don't do right now. We have the transition assistant program, which is TAPS. That is your first key to getting out of the military. They even have courses on purchasing homes in the TAPS courses. They tell you about your VA benefits. But when we enter into the military, that conversation should also be had. That way, as you saying, and Stacy, creating wealth while you're active, understanding what you're going to do for 20 years. Let's say you do 20 years in the service, right? Let me build something up financially. Let me invest something somewhere. Let me have some money stowed away somewhere. So when I get out of the military in 20 years, 4 years, 6 years, okay, now I really have something to pull from. I have something I can dive into outside of a thrift savings plan, outside of the TSP. Let me understand these markets before I get out. Let me get some courses while I'm active to understand what real estate is, what my VA benefits are going to do when I get out. Now, when I'm to the transitioning course, I've been taught this stuff for 10 years, 5 years, 20 years. I got it. Now I'm just getting a little refresher because how long is TAPS? 3 days. You're pouring everything into a sailor, a soldier, a Marine, a Coast Guard guy in 3 days, where he could have been or she could have been getting this information for 20 years. And this is just a little refresher. Hey, we give you a little boost before you go home, back to where, we're releasing you out here to NC Works, where I work at. You're going to the VA, you're going to the VSO, you're going trying to get your disability claim. Now you come see me, and this is what I say: we got to start from square one, because a lot of veterans don't. They have no clue what to do with their TSP. They don't know what the VA benefits are. They don't know if they got post 9/11 on Montgomery. So we walk through these things together. Now, to your question about what do I tell the veteran about his benefits, I say, hey, let's go to va.gov. Let's set you up an account first. That's the first place to start. Okay. Let's see how many times you went to the doctor. Let's pull your medical records. Let's see what these ratings are really doing. What are we saying? What are these adjudicators looking at? Let's see how we can push this rating so we can go ahead and get you to your 100% because you deserve it. Okay. Now let's download your VA eligibility letter, not just for your home, but for college, for your children. Let's go through that process. So we walk them through every step that they need so they can be great or they can be successful, because they already served the country. They already done the do. So now they come see me. We just break down specifically every single thing they may need so they can come out here into society and get what's deserved to them. So they can get the house, so they can get the rating, and then so they can get the job too. So that's how I break it down, because every circumstance is different. Everybody has a different circumstance and situation. So I handle each with care when I speak to the vets.
That's great, because I didn't know where to go when I got out.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to go when I got out. I didn't know what to do. I kind of leaned on my wife, and we just did a lot of research, trying to get my claim and buy a house and and things of that sort. So now, as far as going back to the real estate side, Stacy, when or either one of you can answer this. So I know that you have to live in your house for a year when you're using your VA loan, correct?
Two.
2 years or is it a
Two.
year? 2 years.
Two. Yes, two.
It's 2 years. And then you can use your loan again. But is there a cap on your loan?
Don't quote me. There's not a cap. It's based on your income, I believe. I don't think there's a cap.
And I think it's based on your state too, where you live at, or location, I think.
I don't, and I think the way it's structured, again, don't quote me off the top of my head, but the way it's structured is they will VA guarantee up to a percentage of your loan, because after 500K, you start going into jumbo loans, which they will only VA or guarantee up to a percentage of that. So it's a little complex when you start talking specifically VA loans. But you can have multiple VA loans. I'll tell you that.
And also another question, I'm just going to jab some of these questions in. When it comes to your disability, or just a veteran that doesn't have disability, Desean, this is for you. Is the down payment on a home completely wiped away? Because I got the money back. So I want to know, is it like you don't have to put a down payment if you have a disability, or is it all veterans don't have to put a down payment? Just to clarify.
I think it depends on your eligibility. I don't think you have it. If you have the VA loan, there's no down payment.
Okay. All veterans, even active duty, no veteran at all. With the VA loan, no veteran, whether you 0% or 100, pays a down payment.
Okay, great. So we
up to a fourplex. So that's the caveat.
Up to a what?
A fourplex. Anything over fourplex is commercial, considered commercial, but a veteran can use a VA loan for up to a fourplex.
Up to a fourplex. Okay. Now let's roll into, because Brandi isn't here. I did have some questions for her, but I'm going to roll into some more questions for you, Desean. So building wealth is one thing, protecting wealth is another. Why is insurance and protection planning critical for families when building wealth?
It's so important. We all know there's God forbid something happens to any of us, but that day is going to come one day when we're not able to work, when we're not able to provide for our families financially, even while you're still living. Like I said in the beginning of the call, I'm a life insurance broker, and I express to families daily you want to have something in place to take care of what you work hard for. Even if in the event you get a disability and you can't perform 6 of the daily functions, there are policies out here that will pay you to have sustainable income to ensure that your life keeps going through policies. And this is your mortgage protecting your life. If you have a business, um, you want to be able to protect those investments with some type of insurance. We put insurance on our cars just for driving down the street. That's an asset we have. So if something was to happen, what happens? It's taken care of, right? You want to protect it. So why not protect yourself and protect what you work so hard for? It's so important to have those protections. And I emphasize that every single day. You want to cover yourself, and I believe it's one of the probably the most important things that someone can do, a family can do, especially a business owner. If you have a business, you want to protect your business, and the best way to protect your business is by protecting your own life.
I'm glad you said that. And I want to go back to, so we talked about the VA loan, we talked about disability, and it's been some conversation stirred up here lately that I've seen online about claims being audited. Desean, do you know anything about the claims being audited for fraudulent claims, and that can cause your claim rating to go down, or it to be flagged and you don't have your disability anymore?
So from my knowledge of that, if you are filing and you're permanent in total, okay, you're done. That's it. You're permanent. You're done. You permanent in total. You're good to go. Now, if you have a temporary disability, um, there have been fraudulent things happen. There's people that have done things and said this, and it wasn't true. Then yes, those things can probably come back and bite you. You can probably lose your disability rating if you're falsifying things on documents, of course. But in my professional career, me working with veterans, I've never seen a fraudulent claim. I have every veteran I've ever dealt with. Every time I go to the VA, the ones I speak with, they have disabilities. They have things that have really took a toll on their life. Um, and I tell people all the time, I'm not ashamed to say it on this podcast. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. And people look at me every day and they be like, man, you work out, you train, you do all these things. You ain't disabled. You okay. And truth be told, you have no idea what's going on the inside of my body or what's even on the inside of my brain. You have no idea. And the struggles, that each of us have experienced, every veteran, people don't understand those totalities that we deal with. So, those fraudulent claims come, it's just like the stolen valor. People say they did this and they haven't. So I feel that a lot of veterans have a lot of integrity and they hold themselves to who they are and be true to who they are. So, but yes, those things can happen if they can pull those claims if they find fraud. Sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I love that you said that about your disability and you still go and work out and train and do things like that. Because I look at some civilians, right? And they find every excuse, and there's no knock to civilians, but they find every excuse not to go to the gym, not to show up for work. Kind of like what you said about the corporate environment when they go to work, they just looking to get off at 5 o'clock. But I know a few people, they say, oh, my back hurt. Oh, my, this hurt or that hurt. And I'm like, well, I got two bad knees. I broke my finger doesn't bend all the way. And I got a lot of stuff that's wrong with me, right? And then they look at me like, oh, there's nothing wrong. No, we just have a different mentality when it comes to pain tolerance, for one, and also getting the job done. And you have to be healthy. Like Stacy, I know about your shoulders, your back. Deesha, I know about your injuries as well. But we all still go to the gym. We all get up early in the morning. We all work very hard to get what we want out of life. And I think if most people, I'm not just going to say civilians, because there are some military members, veterans that they do just find excuses not to do things, and those are probably ones putting fraudulent claims in. But I just wanted to say, like, it just struck a nerve with me when you said that, because I know so many people that don't push and work hard at anything but expect the most out of life. And it's just something that I thought about when you were talking about people saying that you don't have a disability.
If I could add this right quick to what you're saying, and I'll use a lion in the jungle. I'm not capable of doing what that lion does because of the environment that lion has been in his whole life. That lion's been hunting since birth. I can't do that. Um, we were fortunate enough, and we took that sacrifice to raise our hand to go in and serve. So they put us through things that we had to adapt to, a culture we had to adapt to. That was a shock when we first went to boot camp. It was something different. Every civilian doesn't get that. They don't get to go on deployment. They don't get to miss their family. They don't get to run the miles and do the push-ups and go to 3 days. I don't know what they did in the army, but I know in the Navy, they made us stay up for 3 days coming in and 3 days going out, no sleep. So they don't make us go through those things. Just like a woman having birth. We are men. We're not having no baby. We don't know what that woman goes through for 9 months, but she's built a certain way to handle birth and to handle those things. But we as men, we can't take on that. So just like in the civilian world, it's hard for them to even understand the things we dealt with, the things we've done. So they don't have the pain tolerance. They don't have that mental capacity to say, you know what, I'm gonna stay here till dark to get this thing done, and I'm gonna be up at 4 o'clock right back in formation. They don't get that, because they haven't been placed in those situations. So when I see it, and I be out here in community, I be seeing these different employers every day, and I see, I hear the complaints, this, that, and the third. I say, you're not built the same way. You're just not. It's a different beast. You're not, just like I'm not built like we was talking before. I'm not built like Michael Jordan. I'm not built like LeBron James. I'm not built like Kobe, God rest his soul. There's things that those men went through that I couldn't handle. I probably couldn't do it. I couldn't go through one of those workouts with LeBron and do what he does. He's $1 million athlete, has $1 million trainer. So there's just different levels to each and every part of life, especially when it comes down to investing, when it comes down to real estate, even when it comes down to VA disabilities. It's a different level, and depending on who you are, how hard you work, that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get the best out of what you do. So I just wanted to add to that, what you had just said.
Stacey, you got anything you want to add to it?
Hey, we had a saying, and I stick to that saying to this day: drink water, drive on. That's it, and that's been my motto in a lot of aspects of life, but specifically in the real estate realm is as we begin to go through these projects, and I'm very hands-on at this moment. So um, from day to day, it's hot some days, it's cold some days, and every day we just drink water and drive on.
Sure, it's good.
You said drink water and drive home.
Drive on.
Drive on. Oh, drink
Drink
water.
water, drive on. Y'all didn't say that in the Navy?
Nah, I mean,
Oh, that's the Army thing there.
the,
Drink water, drive on, soldier.
well, they used to tell us just to drink water, like especially in boot camp. They're like, drink some water.
I drink.
I drink.
Your head hurt, drink water. Your legs hurt, drink water.
Oh man, I just had that conversation with my wife yesterday, actually, about pushing through and just being different. I don't expect anybody to be like me, except for you guys, really, to tell you the truth. So she's like, I don't know, because I stayed up late working on some projects. It was like 1 o'clock, and Desean, Stacy, I go to the gym, try to get there 3:30, 4 o'clock. But I still have all the work I need to do the next day as well. But sometimes it takes staying up late and getting up early, and you don't want to break your routine. I think that's another thing that veterans have. We always have a routine, whether it's eating at a certain time, going to the gym at a certain time, getting the job done. We don't have a routine. Like, you just want to get it done, right? That grit, that grind that Stacy spoke about on the last live. Like, we have that grit, that grind. We want to get the job done, but we don't want to have a job that does get the job done without quality. Quality is important. And when I was deployed, I told my wife, I said, I think I slept maybe 3 hours a day for 10 months, and that was crazy. And most people like 3 hours a day. I say sometimes I might get 4 or 5 hours.
Or
There's like taking naps in between. But you're like, oh my God, how did you function? I don't know. As a human being, your body's gonna adapt to anything that you're doing. And that's just the beast. We veterans are beasts.
Yeah, big time beast.
Now, one of the things that we want to do through the wealth support veteran owned businesses, we have a school community, but we're going to get into that later. So, what opportunities exist for veterans who want to start a business, Desean?
Oh, so many resources. They can actually come, to our platform at NC Works if they're here in North Carolina. We have different vendors that we work with. We have different allocations of monies that we can probably send. Actually, last year I was with East Carolina University for their small business summit here in Greenville, and they was just pushing out money to small businesses. So understanding your resources, there are federal grants out there for veterans. And like we say, you don't know them if you don't ask. I help write grants. I write them. I've been writing them for years. I know how to locate them. I know how to get the resources out based on like the stakeholders of the community, the product that you're selling, if it's going to be beneficial for the location that you're going to put your organization in. I can do all that research for them, and that's just another tool that I have working with NC Works. I can provide that for veteran business owners that want to start up. I can tell you, hey, this ain't gonna work here. Hey, I want to open up a gym in downtown Greenville. It might not work because there are 25 gyms on every corner. What type of gym do you want to open up? What are you trying to do? Who are you targeting? Are you targeting weight loss? Are you targeting elders? Are you targeting people who are struggling with different type of health, issues? So you starting up a small business for a veteran, you really just have to know the dynamics of your situation. Okay, you got to know where you're going and what you're trying to do with your product. And I help navigate that when they come see me for small business owners. I put them in. I even have them talk to big business. They say, "How did I get started?" So many resources to get started, and there's funding out there. So you just got to go look for it.
On one of the conversations I had with Stacy on one of these lives, we talked about real estate and your research. And I always say everything in life works the same if you really think about it. You always have to do research into anything that you do. Think about when you go to school, you got to research, you got to study, you have to take a test. When you go and say you play a sport, you got to study the other team and see what their weakness is to win, to beat them. So life is just one big circle. It happens: research, develop, execute, review, adapt if needed, and just do it again. So that's what I teach when I'm coaching business owners, or when I'm coaching an organization, or if I'm coaching teams, is did you do your research first?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you plan on executing when it comes to the work that you need to do? But if you did no research, then you're just guessing and hoping. And that's why people fail.
Yeah.
The guessing and hoping and going in blind. It's like, would you say I'm gonna drive to New York and don't have a map or GPS?
You're gonna be like Christopher Columbus. You're gonna be hoping and hit something.
discover a new land.
I'm just gonna land somewhere one day. I made it. You didn't. You got lucky. You didn't make it.
So I got another question, because I know time is ticking. I want to get through all my questions. What kind of support do veteran entrepreneurs need the most right now, Desean?
You said it. Research. They got to know. They got to understand the product that they're trying to put out to the world. You got to dig into it. And a lot, like you just said, a lot of people think they can just, okay, I want to open up me a food truck. Okay, where are you opening up this food truck at? Well, I'm gonna open up this food truck in Greenville. I'm just gonna use Greenville, North Carolina. Where are you opening up in Greenville? Okay, what's the market? Who are you feeding? Oh, I want to open up a healthy living market. Okay, how many people around here want to eat healthy? I'm just being honest. It sounds candid, but I'm being honest. In Northeast North Carolina, we like barbecue and fried chicken.
That's it.
You know, and if you come out here trying to open up a pop shop with some tofu and some vegan food, you're probably not going to be that successful, and your business is going to be closed. But if you want to do that, then hey, go to an area where that market is moving. So understanding your research is everything. Is the advice I would give to new entrepreneurs coming to the area. What are you selling? How good is your product? And how much is it going to affect the community that you're trying to provide service to? Okay, that's it. Customer service is everything. I hear a lot of entrepreneurs say, "I don't want a boss." Your boss is the people. If you don't got the people, you don't have any money, and you're not doing anything. So unless you're just gonna sell to yourself, I mean that's about it.
Another thing that I want to say about veterans, we understand ranking.
Yeah,
Everything in life has a rank.
it does.
You could be a CEO, but who you're selling or producing to, is still that's who you care about.
Yeah,
It's when business owners feel like they don't have to reach out to the people that they are trying to sell to. They don't follow up with the customers they already do have. They don't treat like those entrepreneurs, they fail immediately because they don't care about the person.
yeah,
And I want to get on this really on real estate as well. So for people that want to say they have money, Stacy, or they don't have money. Hold on, Siri is trying to connect. But so, so they want to get into real estate. What's something that they need to do outside of research? Because we drilled down on that. What's something that they need to do to get into real estate to maybe purchase their first home or invest in their first fix and flip, whatever the case may be. Just get into real estate. What do they need to do right now?
The first step is to evaluate your finances. Or do you have where are you at? If you're, I'm gonna give you two. I have to give you two examples. Example one, the beginner, um, beginner finance, beginner investor who they just want to get into it. They want to become a hands-on investor. That person, and I'm gonna plug Brandi. That's a great person for Brandi to mentor. That's someone who helped me find a property, walked me through this process. Then you have your other extreme, which are the accredited investors, the high earners. They want to get into real estate, but they don't have the energy, nor the time, nor the desire to go paint walls or to manage contractors. That's when they speak to someone like myself who is offering who's structuring preferred equity funds, um, essentially offering returns hands off. You get to walk the property, you're part ownership, you have ownership in it, backed by the property itself, but you're literally becoming private lenders for developments. So you have Brandy who can help you on one end of the spectrum. She's the hey, I'm a new investor. I'm really interested in real estate from top to bottom. I want to know how to frame a house, electrical, plumbing. I want to know all of that. Brandy's great for that. I'm on the other spectrum of it on the development side where I say, hey, I know you have no interest in learning about plumbing or framing a house, but you do have an interest in real estate and what it offers. I have a private equity fund available for you, 10% preferred returns with 20-30% returns at exit strategy being cash out refi backed by real estate. So you'd have two options. If I was brand new to the game and I didn't know exactly where I was at, I would evaluate where am I at on this spectrum. Do I want to be hands on? Okay, you talk to someone like Brandy. She's going to guide you there. I want to be a little bit hands off, but I like what real estate has to offer. Talk to someone like myself who's a developer.
Dope.
yeah.
That's fire, man. And this is exactly why we built our school community. It's a place where entrepreneurs, investors, veterans, business owners can connect, learn, and build wealth together. when I met Desean, I didn't even know that this was going to happen, right? I didn't know that he did what he did. He does. He stopped me in the gym and said, "Hey, you were in the Navy?" I said, "Yeah." And my wife was like, "Y'all are like a frat." I said, "Nah, we're closer than a frat. Like frats, I'm no knock to fraternities, but you guys, y'all purposely put each other through things. We develop relationships because we go through things together,
That's good.
fighting for a better cause."
That's real good.
And so, if you're serious about leveling up your network, learning from people like this, you should absolutely join the school community. And one more thing, this is Jim's here. And this conversation does not have to stop here. We're taking the message across the country through the Wealth Tour. We're starting in Greenville, that's free, and moving to other cities leading up to the Miami Summit in August. Now, there are different tiers, but the purpose of the Wealth Summit is to come together and teach and close deals. This is not like any other summit. You're not just coming to hear people speak. You are coming here to meet people that you can, one, develop partnerships with, two, you can have real conversations with accredited investors or mentors that can guide you into fix and flips or learn about insurance or veteran owned small businesses, things like that. We want to bring everybody into one room and then you go to the room that you want. Whatever you need to learn, whatever partnerships or deals you need to happen, then that is what we're going to be doing. And we're going to be doing it in a few cities leading up to Miami. But Miami is going to be a big event. We're going to have yachts. We're going to have paid flights. We're going to have the conference room where you have that round table that you could have these conversations at, and dinner with accredited investors if you want to have a more, I want to say isolated, but more intimate face to face conversation and learn what kind of deals you could get. So, wealth starts with community. It doesn't start alone, and you need people that can teach you and get you to the place that you're trying to go. You guys have any other ending remarks before we end the call tonight?
Be great. Drink water, drive on.
Stay
Yeah,
hydrated.
I would just say if there are any veterans are listening, if they're in North Carolina, if they're in Virginia, anywhere, wherever you are, utilize your resources. Um, Understand the sacrifices you made for this country and get everything that you can get because the military got everything they can get out of you, so please understand if you have questions. Um, I don't know where my contact information may be on this live, but you can reach out to me directly, and I'll try to get you in the right direction and put you with the right people so that you can get the best out of your benefits for serving this country.
Yeah, Desean, just put your information in the school community and like your card, all your like everything, just post it right there on the board when you first log in. And everyone, if you join the school community or when you join, I'm not gonna say if, when you join the school community, you will be able to find Desean and you'll be able to message him, you'll be able to connect with him, you'll be able to talk to any of us. So join the school community and start building wealth. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir.